What are you doing here, geeko?
I'm just going to the party. Look, I was invited. I'm not looking for any trouble.
Trouble found you, freak. So listen, why don't you turn around, walk away. No one will even know you were here. See ya.
Later, loser.
All right.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Movie Oblivion, the podcast about feature films based on comic books and comic strips that people have stopped talking about. We are your hosts, Jordan and Kumar, and with us today, a noble and pious youth on a holy quest to receive the sacred texts, to read them, and to bring back his wisdom to us. It is, of course, the Teen Titan himself, Ashwin.
Yes, Ashwin, our Shonen Jump expert. By the way, this is also our solar eclipse special, because there is a major eclipse happening.
I didn't know that. That's very...
Not to us in Australia,
Obviously,
but across North America, they're having a major solar eclipse, probably the day after this drops.
Well, just as long as they don't have a blood moon at the same time.
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk about that.
But anyway, this week we're talking about the third and final insult to the legacy of Akira Toriyama, Dragonball Evolution. Yeah. So... we read volumes 3 and 12. I'll talk about why I chose 3 in particular afterwards, but let's have a pause of the podcast.
No. Don't pause the podcast.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh.
Go watch it. It's so funny.
Yes, but we can't spoil anything.
Yeah, we do pause the podcast for spoilers. What do you think? Can it be spoiled by us? Do we even care?
No.
I
even think that these comics, these volumes, are not really spoilable.
Okay.
I think we've gotten into a stage, which we'll talk about, where we're kind of in a loop. So, I don't think it's spoilable, so...
Well, Ashwin's already come down hard on watch this movie.
Yeah.
I might have a different opinion. We'll see by the end of the episode what view prevails.
Yeah. So, before we recorded this episode, I looked at the plot outline of the movie, and I just skimmed it, and I noticed the word tournament. So I was like, okay, that's volume 3 of Dragon Ball, so let's do volume 3. Mm-hmm. And in volume 3, it's basically Goku decides he wants more training, so he goes to Master Roshi, or Kame Sennin, to get more training, and Roshi's like, okay, well, we're going to enter you in this tournament, so that's a goal to work towards. And then he gets another student, this Kuririn, who's kind of like a little chibi monk type character.
Yeah.
Very similar to Goku in many ways. And then they just train and they have this big tournament, and when they get to the tournament, there's a reunion with the old gang. Yamcha, Bulma, Oolong, they all show up at the tournament as well. Yamcha's actually competing.
Yes.
At the end of it, which is after Volume 3, Goku doesn't win first place. He comes in second place, I think, in that first tournament.
I think so.
Then we get to Volume... there's very long fights in this tournament. We get all the tournament fights. It's a common martial arts thing. You have a tournament in there.
But it's a wacky cast of characters. That's another, I think, tournament or shonen kind of thing.
Yeah, big tournament scene. The big tournament scene for me is Master of the Flying Guillotine.
It is like Master of the Flying Guillotine.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that because they also had a kind of a yogi, an Indian yogi competing, and they had one of those in this one too.
That's right.
But of course there's the Toriyama
But that's
polarity.
also Street Fighter too. There's Dhalsim. Yeah, that's
It's a familiar trope to anyone that's ever...
Yeah.
consumed tournament-themed media.
So we get the tournament. He doesn't win. He gets second place, and then we skip ahead to volume 12. It's like, oh boy, what are we going to miss? And they're in the middle of another tournament. So it's almost like nothing. It's 3 years later in comic time and in real time, but it's like, oh, it's almost like, I don't know. Much like we talked about last week with Life of Brian, it's like the spaceship showed up, flew him away, flew back, dropped him off exactly where he left off.
Yeah.
And again, he comes in second place.
Very close.
Very close. He loses by a fluke when he hits this car when he falls out of the sky.
Yes.
But I think we're getting into a stage of Dragon Ball, the comic book here, where we're in a kind of holding pattern. And you mentioned about them trying to find the Dragon Balls again and again. Once they're separated, go look for them again.
It seems like the plot or the arc of Dragon Ball is they'll have a quest for the Dragon Balls, and then while they're waiting for the Dragon Balls to reform, they'll do a tournament.
Yeah. But supposedly, I think in Volume 3, they said the tournament was every 5 years. And then in Volume 12 it was every 3 years. So I think he's had to adjust to fit in more tournaments.
It's a similar thing in Dragon Ball Z as well, because Dragon Ball Z, they fight a guy, they lose, they train for it, but then they fight him again and win. And just repeats.
So this is also, it's not just the pattern of Dragon Ball, it's the Shonen Jump pattern, and I think maybe it was established by Toriyama in Dragon Ball, but it's friendship, effort, victory, which happens across so many Shonen Jump manga, and Ashton will testify to this because he is our Shonen Jump expert, because he's been on the app, I think, since about 2019.
Yeah, grade 6.
Yeah. And has many times hit the 100 chapter a day limit.
That's amazing.
Especially on school holidays. So you've read all of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Probably more than once, or just once?
I think at least once, for sure.
Okay. But you didn't really remember, because my feeling I get from your reading of Shonen Jump titles is you forget what happened and then you go back and read.
Well, there's so much to go through. Like, I've read One Piece maybe twice, and it's 1,000 chapters, and I can't remember every single chapter. And it's the same for everything, because Dragon Ball's not that long, but then I've also read Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, right.
And so all of it together, it's like, it's all kind of melded into one. Like, I remember the basic plot. I didn't remember the tournament.
Yes. Okay.
Well, is it accurate to say it just kind of goes through cycles, like Kumar was hinting at earlier? So there's not a specific plot that you need to... There's no resolution.
It's all small story arcs.
Right.
Yes.
It might last for 20 or even 100 chapters.
That makes sense, because it's just being produced on a
weekly
basis.
Yeah. I do think these volumes were less enjoyable than the first two. I mean, they're good. Volumes 3 and 12 were good. This is good cartooning, but the genius of those first two volumes is kind of missing. I think part of it is that it's kind of getting repetitive, but part of it is also Goku is 3 years older. So he's got to be 17 now. He does make a comment at one point when the guy who beat him offers him half the prize money because he won by chance only. And Goku's like, I don't know what to do with money. That was like the one touch of like the old Kid Goku. Who's
the culture shock is gone.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Good. Well put.
Yeah. So that's kind of missing. But again, we've got the Shonen Jump thing where the whole gang has reassembled again for this tournament, and now we get a new threat, and the whole gang, some are former enemies, have to work together to beat this new
and some new crazy characters.
Yes.
A kind of fat samurai.
Yes. Lord Yajirobe. Yeah. So you get some occasional new characters. Like he introduced this character Lunch, who's this girl who is really like demure and kind of I don't know what you call her. Like she's timid, until she sneezes, and then she turns into this.
It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
So when she sneezes, she goes from the Jekyll to the Hyde.
Yeah, and that's okay, but it's not nearly as good as Yamcha's like paralyzing fear of women. Like it doesn't. It's not quite. Nothing's quite on that level.
I agree. He didn't quite seem to know what to do with Lunch.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see her still around in Volume 12, honestly, because it felt like he didn't really know what to. In Volume 3,
I think he's just
throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks.
He's accumulating. He's snowballing characters. I think. Right. I'm guessing because Ashton might know from reading to the end that everybody probably sticks around.
Yeah. To my memory, Lunch gets written out at some point, but definitely Kuririn is still there.
Oh,
Yajirobe is still there. He's like a big plot.
Yeah, he cuts off Vegeta's tail in Dragon Ball Z, doesn't he?
Wow.
He does.
Okay. Because he seemed to me like a real throwaway. Well,
yeah. No, he was. I'm pretty sure he just lives at. They talk about some tower at the end of Volume 12.
Okay.
He just lives at the top of that tower now.
Yes, the Karen Tower or something like that.
Yeah, the Karen Tower. Yeah, he grows the senzu beans that just bring you back to life and get rid of all stakes.
Ah, okay. So Yajirobe is this guy, he's a kind of samurai, but he's living in isolation on this island or in the mountains or something. I wonder if there's something cultural going on there there's something about like samurai that actually did this or were like living rough. I don't know. There might be some background to this character that makes him more than what he is. But the other thing is he eats anything, including sentient beings.
He has a huge appetite. Yeah, he's talking about eating. Yeah, he wants to eat the enemies they kill. Yeah. He's a Goku-like character, but with some key differences. He's more cowardly.
Yes.
He's more cantankerous.
He's more rough and tumble kind of type. Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't have the childlike charm that Goku has.
Absolutely.
No. You can't recapture that, I don't think. Although I guess Goku has a son later on.
It's funny that he's cowardly, right? I mean, in like Dragon Ball Z. I mean, we shouldn't really be talking about Dragon Ball Z, but I watched so many episodes of that terrible show, and the joke is he shows up and then like the monster will appear and then he'll run away, or drive away. in a capsule car.
There is actually one of the panels I really loved was where he runs away and he's got his arms out in that Toriyama weird like flying away pose, which was copied in Naruto. Like Naruto had it became a thing. Every manga artist had to have the running pose, the funny running thing, that visual that was like immediately identifiable. And he runs away with his arms straight out like an airplane. It was so funny. I really did love that bit. So after the end of the second tournament, when Goku has lost, suddenly, Kuririn is attacked and killed in it's just a few panels. It's very dismissively handled.
It's like he yells and then they run over.
Well, it's off screen, isn't it?
It's off screen. He's been killed off screen. They hit Goku's Dragon Ball, which I guess they've recovered in the 3 years since, has been stolen, and the fight roster for the tournament. So they figure out, based on a calling card, which is left at the scene, that this was a demon king called Piccolo, who had been sealed in a rice cooker
2,000 years ago.
2,000 years ago in a rice cooker and buried like in the bottom of the ocean by... Wait a second, he couldn't have been buried 2,000 years ago. It was done by Master Roshi.
No, it wasn't Master Roshi. I think it was Master Roshi's... Someone in Master Roshi's martial arts lineage.
Oh.
Yeah. So he knows about it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it wasn't him personally.
Okay. So he was sealed away in this rice cooker in the bottom of the ocean.
Rice cookers.
And now they're like...
It's a 1,000-year-old electric rice cooker.
It's an electric rice cooker, yeah.
They're like, well, how did he get out? We don't know. But then we get a smash cut to this airship with Pilaf's name on it, and Pilaf has somehow found this guy. Maybe he did in the last volume, I don't know.
Dumbass.
Yeah. But I love the way it... I hope it wasn't handled in the previous volume. I hope this is the introduction of it. Because we figure out that Pilaf is the one that has resurrected this guy, hoping that, like Lex Luthor in Superman 2, we'll get half of the Earth when Piccolo takes over.
That's exactly what I thought of. Like the scene where Lex Luthor is like, Australia.
Yeah. So... Piccolo's thing is, he's already powerful enough to conquer the world because he did it 2,000 years ago. The world was in ruins.
Yes.
But he's old. He wants
eternal youth so that he can rule forever. This is the reason he wants the 7 Dragon Balls. When Pilaf tells him about the Dragon Balls, he's like, I can use these to give myself eternal life. That's what he wants to wish for. Mm-hmm. He also has the roster because he's worried that these fighters are the best fighters in the world, and they were the ones that will get in his way, as they did 2,000 years ago, because it was those martial artists that had this spell called the Mafubao, or a martial arts move, that sealed him in the rice cooker. So he's like, well, we got to destroy all these martial artists. So now we've got 2 kind of plots going on. There's one where the 2 factions are trying to collect all the Dragon Balls, and one where Piccolo's also sent out henchmen to kill all the fighters from the tournament. The Dragon Ball collection is quite easy. Some of them happen off screen. Sometimes they just pick them up off the ground. They just use their detector, like, oh, there's one in that field, and they pick it up. But Goku has, as soon as Kuririn has died, he takes Bulma's detector, flies off to chase this kind of demon-y guy with wings, pterodactyl-like being. There's actually a full-on pterodactyl in Piccolo's entourage, but this guy, anyway. Goku fights him, but he's the monster, I think his name is Tambourine. He destroys the cloud, Kintoin, the flying cloud, and Goku falls into this island, which is where he meets Yajirobe. But then Piccolo sends his first henchman. Oh, he makes a new henchman. He bursts an egg. Here's how he does it.
Yes.
He just kind of vomits up this egg. The egg hatches. And we were told before that he made whole hordes of like demons this way.
Yeah.
Now he's very weak. This is his point. Is he has enough power. He can still do a few things, but he's getting weaker. And his pterodactyl henchman is like, you got to manage your power.
He can only make like 5 or 6 more henchmen.
Right.
Until he finds all the Dragon Balls.
Right. So
and it's really gross because he vomits up an egg.
Yeah. And regurgitates it.
Yes. And Pilaf is, do you really have to make another henchman? Do we really have to watch that?
Yeah. So the first one he sends down he's named Symbol, and he sends him down to the island where Goku is because they have their own detector. Yajirobe cuts him in half, slashes him, he's dead, and Piccolo can detect this, so he sends down Symbol. He says, stop fighting those martial artists. He's going around defeating martial artists all over the world.
Yeah.
And he's
about to go after Yamcha, and then Piccolo's like, no, Tambourine, you have to go after Goku instead.
Yes. So he goes down, Goku defeats him with Kamehameha, kind of off panel. I guess it was too vicious to show on panel. Piccolo detects this again. He's like, okay, I have to go down there myself. And he jumps down. They have a big fight. He knocks out Goku. He takes the Dragon Ball, which Yajirobe had. And then he flies off. And then Goku and Yajirobe... Goku asks to go to this place, the Karen Tower. And then they're on their way there. And that's where Volume...
There's a detail here that I liked when Goku is about to Kamehameha Piccolo. Piccolo thinks it's the Mafuba.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He does.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about that.
So we don't know what happens after. Well, Ashwin, I don't know if you remember. I don't know.
Vaguely remember.
I have a guess there's a big fight and Piccolo is defeated. And then I have a guess that they use the Dragon Balls to resurrect Kuririn.
Yeah. He's around in later volumes, yeah.
And
He's
then I would guess there's probably another tournament where Goku has to work hard with his friends.
Yep.
To practice and train until he can get to first place. And then I guess that probably another threat emerges, and then they have to all team up together as friends.
I can tell you what happens in Dragon Ball Super.
Okay.
Is every time people just sacrifice themselves to kill the big bad guy, and before they die, they're just like, oh yeah, just use the Dragon Balls to bring me back to life.
Life is cheap by Dragon Ball Super, I think.
And then after they kill the big bad guy, it's like, oh yeah, as an exposition panel, it's like, oh yeah, then we brought everyone back with the Dragon Balls.
Yeah, life's become pretty cheap by Dragon Ball Super, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That's 2015, I think that came out.
Right.
And maybe as a direct consequence of this movie that we're going to discuss.
Oh, interesting.
It's still going at this point. I don't know what's happening with it after Toriyama's died, but he was definitely still working on it.
Alright, well, to return to the comic, the manga, it's got some classic Toriyama humour.
Yes.
There's some stuff that, again, the world is so odd.
Yep.
There's high tech.
It's interesting the way people are dressing in this volume versus, 1 to 3, where, Master Roshi's, wearing a suit and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all very mixed up. I will say that, and the fights are much longer, as I mentioned before, especially when we get to Volume 12. These fights are dragging out. Yeah. It's not like it was in the first 2 volumes. And I will say I missed the screen tone he used on some of those early... So he had the gray tones, the gray washes and stuff in the early volumes. It's a little bit... The art's a little bit less satisfying this time around. I think everything's kind of... It's just the wheels are turning and the editors are going, we need more Dragon Ball because this is what's selling our magazine every week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of...
It's still great.
Oh, yeah.
It's still great.
I think it is still
great. Even if it's not as good as the first couple of volumes, it's still great. It's still Dragon Ball.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
There's a little bit of what you said, the holding pattern, but there's still a lot to we have talking animals, we have high tech, we have people in odd clothing. I like at one point the abbot of the monastery where they hold the tournament comes out to give a blessing, and he's a dog in monk's robes, and his blessing is just the word woof.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some classic kind of Toriyama kind of cheeky humor.
Yeah.
One of the wacky contestants in the tournament is a huge stinky guy.
Yeah.
And his power is that he never bathes. And his terrible his ultimate attack is the breath crotch combo.
Yes.
This is pure naughty kind of Toriyama humor. He breathes on them with his horrible breath, and then he takes one finger and puts it in his loincloth.
Yeah.
Sort of wiggles it around a bit, and then holds it out.
Yeah.
And Krillin, who's his opponent, is overcome by this until
he realizes that he doesn't have a nose and he can't smell anything.
Which I thought was just an art choice, and then it's revealed that he actually literally has no nose.
Well, at first it was one, and then it was the other, obviously. Toriyama just was writing it, he thought, wouldn't that be funny? But actually, Goku has to tell him that he doesn't have a nose.
Goku's like, Krillin, what are you doing? You don't have a nose, you can't smell that.
Yeah.
Because as you said, Kumar, he's drawn in this chibi kind of style where he doesn't have a visible nose, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a nose until it does.
Yeah. But there's all kind of stuff like that, because I know Pilaf breaks the fourth wall at some point.
Sure.
He's like, stop making Dr. Slump references.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's right, he did say that.
There's another panel, I think in Volume 1, that I really liked, where Goku punches Yamcha, and he crashes against the top of the panel, and then falls back down again.
I think that was a Osamu Tezuka trick. I think he did that a couple of times.
Makes sense.
So I don't think we have to say much more about these comics.
Was there anything else that was funny? Any other Toriyama tricks that you liked about these 2 volumes we read?
And despite what he said, he really does have a handle on all these characters, and he's really good at having a certain character trait which plays off against the others. So it is really working. He's still a master cartoonist and storyteller, for sure. But I don't know if there weren't any, in the first couple volumes, I could have pointed out heaps of scenes
Right.
It was like, this scene was hilarious, this scene was hilarious. And it was a little bit less so this time, I think mostly because maybe a lot of space was devoted to really long fights where there's only 3 or 4 panels on a page, not much dialogue or jokes. It's just like flying around, punching, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well...
So I think
it's now our
but we've
sad
covered
duty.
the plot. Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay, so this movie came out in 2009. Now, the story I heard, and you can hear this on the Dragon Ball episode of Deconstructed Comics, is that after this movie came out, Shueisha started digitizing Dragon Ball for online. Now, you have to understand, Japan is actually pretty slow at moving stuff to online. It was like CDs, like music. MP3s were not a big thing, or iPod players or anything like that were not really big in Japan. They were into hard copy media. So it was unusual for anything to get digitized. It took a very long time. I guess now it's probably the norm. But they seem to be behind the rest of the world. But in 2009, they started digitizing Dragon Ball. And the rumor I heard was because they were so angry about this movie that they wanted people to remember the original comics, not this movie. So they made sure it was available by digitizing it. So I've heard.
Yeah, we're sort of burying the lead here, but yeah, there is a lot of scuttlebutt around, and that Toriyama himself essentially came out of retirement, but returned to this property that he was done with because of the travesty that this 2009 film
It's interesting, because I have heard about this movie for years and heard how bad it is, and I was not ready. I was in shock the whole way through. This is an 85-minute movie about the end of the world. If you're making a movie about the end of the world, this is 85 minutes with credits. Would it be 85 minutes? It's crazy to me. Produced by 20th Century Fox. This is a major studio picture.
Yeah. Yes.
Directed by James Wong, who had directed the horrible Jet Li movie, The One. But he was actually
he was a writer. He had written a lot of
X-Files. He was an X-Files guy.
Yes. And he'd also done Final Destination.
Final Destination, another good movie. Final Destination 1, especially. Yeah. He did the 2006 Black Christmas, the remake, which I'm not such a big fan of, but I think that was the thing he did before this, so...
Okay.
I don't know quite what was going on in his career. Produced by Stephen Chow for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. Why is he involved in any way in this? Why did he have to be...
So... Okay, we're sort of skipping to the end. Normally I would talk about this after we watch the film, but we've started talking about it now. So 20th Century Fox acquired the rights as long ago as 2002.
Okay.
They just acquired them. As far as I can tell, there's no story, there's no passionate person behind the scenes who's pushing for these rights. It's just acquired them as a matter of course.
Because it's a popular property.
As you say. And then they just started shopping around for directors. And it seems like they approached Stephen Chow asking him to direct.
Oh, wow.
That would have been good.
That would have been something else.
Yeah. But he passed.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he passed on it. But he decided he's a big fan of Dragon Ball.
Of course.
But he passed, but agreed to be a producer.
I would say that Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle are both better Dragon Ball movies.
Than this,
They're closer to Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be, And that's James Marsters, who plays Piccolo in this film. Part of the reason he accepted it, he's also a fan of Dragon Ball. But part of the reason he accepted it was because Stephen Chow's name was attached.
Okay.
So I have a quote from him. This was, I found an article where where they're quoting from a panel he did at the 2014 Wizard World Convention.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z was important to me as a father. So I was really into it when I got the role of Piccolo. And they told me it was a $120 million picture.
Huh, okay.
And as far as I know, this is, even though he's saying this in 2014, I also found another interview with him from 2008, where he basically confirms that.
Yeah.
He'd been told it was a $100 million picture at least.
What was the budget?
30 million.
And it shows.
Yes.
What does it show?
Absolutely, it's on screen.
So I was told it was a $120 million picture, and that Stephen Chow was producing. And Stephen Chow is the director of Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin Soccer, which, if you guys haven't seen his films, go get them. Just fabulous. They're funny, goofy, violent, scary, everything you would need for Dragon Ball to work. So he agrees with you, Kumar. But then he goes on to say, and I've captioned this hoodwink, and I get out to Durango, Mexico, and it's a $30 million picture. And Stephen Chow is just on paper to fool us down into the desert. And they don't even want to pay for the stuntman to get made up like me. So they never use the stuntman. They just keep putting me up on wires. I still have a separated clavicle from the shoot.
Whoa.
Because it was just gnarly.
Whoa.
But I still wanted my son to at least like my part in it.
Okay. Well, all of this is... We don't get credits till the end of the movie anyway, so we don't know any of these names, as it opens with a voiceover, which is a bad... It's one of those voiceovers about 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's not a good sign.
Not a good sign, because we've seen this in 100 movies already.
It's in Jiu-Jitsu, isn't it? I was reminded of Jiu-Jitsu.
This movie is very like Jiu-Jitsu. I should say Jiu-Jitsu is very like this movie in many ways. The special effects, the voiceover, the plot, the old master, in that case was Nicolas Cage, in the ragtag group where some of them are like modern talking Americans, but it's like a martial arts. Everything.
And this is
very
not,
similar.
This is very much not a flattering comparison. Did you watch Jiu-Jitsu?
No, I didn't watch
No,
Jiu-Jitsu.
it's really bad.
That's good that you did.
But very similar to this in so many. Yeah, so we get this voice about when the world 2,000 years ago the world was almost destroyed by Piccolo.
And Uzaru.
Yes, and he was sealed in a. Yeah. He was sealed away by the Mafuba spell.
So it is the Mafuba spell, same name.
Yes.
But he's not sealed away in a rice
No,
cooker.
it's like a vase or something.
And
Yes,
then
just
I'm
a
like,
vase.
oh no. Alright, so this is already a bad sign. We're not going to have the same kind of irreverent humour.
Yeah. Then we get the title, Dragon Ball Evolution. I wondered about...
Why is it called that?
Well, here's my hunch. I think at the end of the day, when the movie was made, they knew the movie was very far from the comic. And they had to signal the fans, in a way, they had to wave to them and say, hey, this isn't Dragon Ball. This is Dragon Ball Evolution. It's a different thing.
I think it's possible, but I think you're overestimating the amount of people that gave a shit about this.
Yeah, I think they wanted to give it
product.
a cool name.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dragon Ball wasn't cool enough, I guess.
Yeah,
but it was a name property. It's a famous property. Everybody knows what it is. Why not call it Dragon Ball Z?
That was the original title.
Right.
The original title was Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
But they changed it at some point, presumably, and this is going to be a theme with input from Suits.
Yes.
This film has suit fingerprints all over it.
Z sounds like a zombie movie, I guess.
In 2009, maybe.
I could smell the suits all over this movie. We'll talk about it as we go through it. So after we get the voiceover about the world was destroyed and then it was finally saved at the last minute by the Mafuba spell and the title card, Dragon Ball Evolution, we get a close-up on these sweaty eyes and sweaty face, super close-up of our main actor, Justin Chatwin, as Goku.
Okay, so here's the problem right off the bat.
And he's wearing modern clothing.
Oh my god.
Okay, so,
it was doomed from the moment they cast a adult white man to play Goku.
Yes. Adult white man is playing Goku. He's the close-up of the sweaty eyes is not a thing that Toriyama does in his cartooning. So immediately I was like, this is not functioning the way the comic functions. But he's in modern clothing, so I'm like, okay, so remember what I talked about in the comic was you're tricked in the first pages to think it's taking place in ancient times until Bulma shows up in her high-tech vehicle.
Yeah, because Goku's living in the forest and he's acting like it's ancient times.
Yes, exactly.
It's like the world has passed him by.
Yeah.
And oh my god, I'll talk about
It's sort of the bait and switch with the Journey to the West kind of theme.
Yeah. So
and
there's
there's all this abstract craziness.
There's no bait and switch here. There's that fun reveal is not here. We start with a training scene with his grandfather who's alive as he was in the Taiwan version.
Yes.
So they're training. There's some like wire work, very lame kind of wire work. It's not exciting or anything like that. They're jumping around and flipping upside down, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Hold on. Pause for a moment.
Okay.
I want to return to what Ashwin said. So, Ashwin, this film's ruined. Okay, so the last two films we looked at, they cast a kid
Yeah.
as Goku, and also, one was a Taiwanese film, one was a Korean film, so it's an Asian kid that they cast. But this film, they've cast a white guy as Goku.
He looks like his name is Justin.
Well, that's his name.
Yeah, and he looks like a Justin.
He looks like a Justin.
Yeah. I mean, this film has a pretty kind of big Asian cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
there are
only- yeah,
scenes.
yeah,
I think only really Bulma is not the only, and Bulma's.
You're absolutely right. I was surprised that there were some moments in this movie where you have like 3 Asians on screen at the same time talking to each other. That's unusual.
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
There's 3 Asians on screen not talking about a white person. Well, they might have been talking about Goku, but yeah, but again, Suits. No way can our lead of a film in 2009 be an Asian
child.
Yeah.
Has to. Yeah. Justin Chatwin, by the way, was in Josie and the Pussycats.
Yes, he was.
And he was in Smallville.
Yes, he
in
was.
a background.
He was in
moment.
Josie and the Pussycats as teenage fan number 2.
I've got his IMDb how you say, credit is Teen Jostled by Whitney.
Ah, okay. Here you go.
So, but maybe, I can't remember what it was in the actual credits for the film, but Teen Jostled by Whitney is on IMDb.
So as they're fighting, Grandpa uses his ki energy, and he uses Shadow Crane Strike, is what he calls it.
Yes.
And there's a lot of talk about you have to master your ki energy. And then after all this, he gives him a birthday present, which is a Dragon Ball. He didn't mention it was his birthday until...
No.
Middle of the afternoon.
He's like, oh, Grandpa, I thought
his
you
18th
forgot.
birthday?
I think it's in the morning, though, because he goes to school, doesn't he?
Oh, he does go to school, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you forgot.
Yeah,
He gives him this Dragon Ball. He doesn't know what it is. He's just like, I have this thing, and does he know
It's
the legend?
It's my only treasure apart from you. And he tells him some poem or something. That doesn't make sense.
So he does know a little bit about how it works. So this is about 5 minutes into the movie, and I was trying to keep quiet. I was sitting next to Ashton on the sofa watching this. I was just trying to contain...
I should probably mention, I've seen this movie before. This was my second viewing.
Yeah. I was like trying to contain myself. But then when he showed up at school, I lost my mind. Okay, so I rewind a little bit. He has a chat with his grandfather where he's like, hey, why don't you help me like be normal around girls or be a normal guy and not nervous around girls and so that I don't have to worry about these bullies. And I was like, this is every cliche in the book. And we're 5 minutes in the movie. We've already had the voiceover cliche. Now we've got these 3-4 high school movie cliches in a row. It's almost like not another teen movie level kind of stuff. I couldn't believe it.
Did it occur to you at this point that he was about to go to high school?
No, not really. I was like, well, how are they going to do this?
In, Grandpa?
Yeah. And
you know what I thought of? That Akira video. The prom's tomorrow!
Yeah. But this was a thing where I thought, oh, this is execs. Executives are coming in saying, okay, he needs to be a teenager, he needs to be in high school, there needs to be high school girls and bullies and all this stuff. Every cliche in the book has to be in here.
That's exactly what happened.
He pulls up to school. I lost my mind. I could not believe... I had a vocal outburst on the sofa because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was not... Goku does not go to school in Dragon Ball. That's the opposite of what this comic is about. It's a guy living in the woods with his grandpa. This movie actually tries to have it both ways, and we'll talk about that in a second, but he shows up at school. It looks shot for shot like Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. When the kid shows up at school and has to deal with the bullies in the parking lot, and the hot girlfriend of the main bully, all this kind of stuff, it's all in here. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And also it was a modern school, and I was like, what world is this?
Tech high school.
And it just looked like a normal kind of, maybe I wasn't looking close enough, but it looked like a normal school to me. Anyway, he goes to class.
And then they're all sitting at future desks.
Future, yes, it is the future. It's definitely the future. It's revealed later.
Is it the future?
It is. Oh yeah, it has to be.
It's totally the future.
Because later... Okay,
so it's our world, but in the future, not like a Toriyama world where they've taken out everything fun.
No, it has to be our world.
And just left capsule stuff.
No, because I reckon what happened is someone saw the floating car from, what was it? It was like volume 1 or 2 or something. It was like, someone saw the capsules.
Yeah.
And was like, oh yeah, capsules. I wonder how they get big. Oh yeah, Michael Bay's Transformers.
Oh my god, yes. Yes, there's a transforming capsules.
So they're at their future, but later on, when he goes out with Bulma for the first time into the city, they have these displays that are future panels.
yeah.
So that's all revealed. That's half hour. Anyway, he's in school. The teacher's talking about this eclipse that's going to happen. Goku's meanwhile is fantasizing about this girl Chi-Chi. It's not the daughter of the Ox King Gyuma in this version.
No,
she's just
although she does live in a castle.
Does she?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they've taken... in Toriyama's setting, there's high-tech and kind of fantasy elements, talking animals, wearing clothing, monsters,
all in
magic...
one. It's not our world at all.
People from myth, Onai, trolls, monsters, and someone's come in and said, well, we can't have all that shit because that's wacky and people won't get it, but we'll keep the high-tech element.
Why would you take the sci-fi and not the fantasy?
Well, because the people, it's a suit, right? It's an exec.
Yeah.
Someone's come in and said, whoa, sci-fi and fantasy? Middle America's not going to get this. Let's just keep one. Why keep one? Why not just set it in the present day without the sci-fi?
Yeah.
It just makes it a weird mess.
In fact, if you take the sci-fi, if you take it out of the future, it makes the capsules more interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's some really crazy thing that her father has invented.
Yeah. We could hear it just every day. It's just an everyday thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's in future school. He's sitting at some kind of future desk.
Yeah.
There's signs around that mention a virtual teacher
Yes.
at one point. I'm like watching and thinking, where is this?
Yeah.
When is this?
Yes.
Is this
Yes.
the future?
Yeah.
But they're acting like it's like regular American teen.
Yeah. By the way...
regular American teen problems.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is it...
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah. Why? Why? Why do we have regular teen problems, cliche teen problems, but now in the future? I don't get it.
I don't think it is the future. I think it's just...
If you put it in the present...
Do they ever actually give a year? I don't know.
No.
I don't think it's... I think it's
futuristic.
Just... I think it's just a wacky world, futuristic world.
Oh, a bit like Mystery Man.
Sure,
Yeah.
but less good.
Yes. Yes.
And I didn't even like Mystery Man.
Yeah.
If you put him in the present day, just in our world, it makes sense for him to be living out in the countryside.
Yes.
He has to ride his bike to school every day. And if they're gonna make it so he goes to school, why not make it a normal school?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
If they really want him to go to school, why not just make it normal?
If you want, exactly. If you want normal school tropes, like, I'm a social outcast, how do I fit in and get the girl? Why put it in space school?
Why?
Because...
Yeah, it would be more relatable, even as a cliche, if it was just in a normal
Why would
school.
you have a demon king and these mystical Dragon Balls and this dragon and then set it in a sci-fi world?
Yes, exactly.
Why not
those
just make
things
it
are
fantasy?
more...
Why not get rid of the sci-fi and make it fantasy?
Yeah, those things are more remarkable if it's not in a sci-fi world. By the way, this girl...
This is because of the committee. Because this is many voices, and someone said, strip out the fantasy, or put this in because it's in the comic, but we can't have the other stuff that's in there because it will be confusing. So just leave the sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so many bad choices.
Okay, so this girl, Jamie Chung, she's gonna be an all-star.
Is that right?
Yeah, because she is in Sin City 2 and she's also in Big Hero 6.
You're right, I've got that written down too.
She was also a character called Valerie Vale in the TV series Gotham.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 6 episodes of that.
Yeah, this film has quite a lot of...
all-star potential material, yeah.
It absolutely does.
Are we assuming that they were all told it was 130 million?
Because, did you notice, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but since we're talking about All-Stars, did you notice who played Yamcha?
Yes, that guy was in Speed Racer.
Another film that killed manga adaptations in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But yes, he played quote-unquote Yakuza driver.
Yes. Yeah, I did see that. So, at school, the teacher tells them about an eclipse that's coming up. Goku presents as a kind of country yokel where the teacher says, what do you know about this eclipse, or something. Because he's distracted. He's thinking about Chi-Chi.
Again, well, he's not. He's watching it. And this, again, you're talking about cliches.
Staring at her.
Absolutely.
And it's like, the background fades out and she's in like this field of flowers and she's eating a strawberry.
So weird.
I hate him so much.
Yes. Yeah, it's really, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, he's like a yokel. He says, "Oh, my granddad says aliens attacked the Earth 2,000 years ago or something."
He actually says Namex. It's the only time Namex is mentioned in the film.
Yeah. After class, Chi-Chi is having trouble getting her locker open. They have these space-age lockers that need the key cards open. And he uses his key power to open all the lockers. He blasts them open. This is another scene where I lost my mind. Because I was like, that's what you're using this is the first demonstration of his powers, I think. And
we even, in an earlier scene, it was sort of established that he was having trouble with them.
Yeah, and now he's opened a whole hallway full of
wall. And part of his, and part of his problem, part of his teen angst, is that he has these powers, like Superman or whatever, but that he can't use.
Yes.
Oh, woe is me!
But then he does use them to open a bunch of lockers. Yeah. And she chases him and she says, that was key, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
how does she know about key?
Also, she's really into him. And they have several conversations in the movie, and he's never nervous around her. In the way that he was worried about being nervous around girls.
This confused me, because is she not dating the bully guy?
No, that was some other girl. I was confused about this too, because we really get to see her from a distance.
She's hanging out with him. In like the opening scene, because the bully drives up and runs over his bike,
she's part of
which he could probably have him arrested for.
Yeah.
He like destroys his bike, and then he's like walking off. He's like, "Ha, loser!" And then Chi-Chi is with him, and he's like, she looks over and she's like, and then I walk off.
Yeah.
That's not Chi-Chi. It's another girl.
But I think she's there, but she's in the in crowd, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
So we've established kind of like...
But he does
the
address his
school's
girlfriend
pecking
by
order.
name, and I can't remember what it is at the moment. It was like Emmy or something, or maybe that was the actress. I don't remember. Anyway. Okay, so we get I think at some stage here we're introduced to Piccolo. And,
Yes, he's in his airship, which is Pilaf's airship.
yes, but it's just his airship.
Yeah.
And also we're told that he escaped somehow. This
Somehow.
was actually swiped
Somehow Palpatine
for
returned.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Exactly.
So now we know how...
And I
what
thought
inspired him.
for sure we were get a reveal at the end of how he escaped, like Grandpa did it accidentally or something. It's never. It's just somehow.
No.
So why would they bother spending the whole movie trying to get the Mafuba again if he just got out of it? I don't know.
Yeah, he can get out of it. Well, it took him 2,000 years.
Yes, I guess so. So Chi-Chi invites Goku to her party. That she's having.
party! There's a party tonight!
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yahoo!
So crap!
He gets ready for the party. He tries to like slick down his hair and it pops up. That's supposed to be a joke, I guess.
Because Goku's hair never changes shape.
And also, Grandpa has made this big feast, including chicken's feet, which are presented as something disgusting, but they're tasty. There's stuff in this movie that's like, what?
This is the movie's idea of humor. Like,
Yeah.
the humor's always...
Oh,
crap.
he's eating gross chicken's feet. I'm like, the chicken's feet taste good. Like, what is this movie? And then when his hair pops up, I guess I was supposed to laugh at that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Roast duck as well. It's presented as like, oh, look at this gross roast duck.
Oh, well, it's partridges or something, or quails, right?
Well, it's a cooked bird.
Like, it's a
It
whole
can't-
bird.
How
It's
bad
like,
can it
"Whoa,
taste?
gross!
Yeah. So he goes to the
Yeah, it's
party.
delicious, yeah.
He goes to the party. He gets in a fight with the bullies outside the house.
Oh my god,
There's
I
a
love
crazy-
this scene.
this
This
scene-
scene's great.
Yeah, well, the first thing was, he shows up, and the bullies see him coming. They're like, hey, get out of there, Geeko. Because they call him Geeko. Get out of here, Geeko. And he turns...
I think you're using this as the intro for the episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he turns around and he leaves. And all the bullies start laughing uproariously, as if this is the funniest thing that's happened. That
script
this guy
says-
is leaving because they told him to leave.
The script says laugh. There's a similar thing earlier on where, right after he says beware of the Namex in class, you know, like, if you know, the teacher, he's daydreaming, the teacher slams the ruler down or whatever, he's got a ruler even though it's a future classroom. Mr. Goku, what would you say about an eclipse? And he goes, my grandpa would say beware of the Namex because they nearly destroyed the world 2,000 years ago and because of an eclipse. And then the teacher says, well, I think we can be sure that won't happen again.
And everybody
then
laughs.
the class laughs uproariously.
Have
like
you
the
ever
teacher said
laughed at your
something-
science teacher's joke?
Maybe if they told a funny joke,
Yeah.
but that certainly
Yeah.
wasn't one.
Would the whole class laugh at the joke? I don't know. Anyway,
I think in science we're all too busy studying.
there's a
Nice.
crazy
That's very good.
there's
That's the
a crazy
official story.
so at the party, so he gets in a fight with these bullies. You can describe the fight. It's crazy. We're trying to do kind of
holy
Dragon
shit,
Ball
dude.
stuff.
Oh my god. It doesn't matter. The fight's not important. There's this moment. He's dodging all the attacks. So his excuse is his grandpa said I'm not allowed to fight anyone. I made a promise I'm not gonna fight. And then so what he does is he dodges all their attacks and makes them hit each other from like dodging.
Yeah.
Because the bullies are stupid or something.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. There's this one moment where so he beats up all the dudes, and then the main guy comes up. I don't remember his name. I don't care. The main bully comes
The
up.
actor's name is Texas Battle.
Yeah, Texas Battle. Never comes back again.
Yeah.
Never shows up again after the high school arc. He comes down, he's hitting him, he's trying to hit him with a metal pipe, and he's hitting his car, like, accidentally, because he dodges and he hits his car. It's like, my car! Yeah, but there's this one moment where Goku jumps, and it's like half a second. It's on screen for half a second, but he jumps, and he has like a backflip, and he slides across the top of the car on his head.
Yes, he does.
That...
If the film had more of this in it, I think I would have enjoyed it.
If they had a slide whistle sound effect for that moment as well, it would have been a little bit better. Maybe? I don't know. So, by the way, while he's beating up these guys, here's an actual line from the movie when a guy goes through a car window. That's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. This is what the writer came up with. Are you kidding me?
It's gonna hurt. Yeah.
Okay, so now after he beats up all these guys, he has a chat with Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 18 today, it's my birthday. And she says, cool, and chuckles, and then it cuts. That's the end of the scene with her. She says, cool, haha, cut. Cut to Grandpa being attacked.
No, that's not how it... Is that how it ends?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because then they cut back to it, but she goes, cool, ha. And then we get a scene of Grandpa being attacked by James Marsters as Piccolo.
Demon King Piccolo.
Yeah. So...
We have met him earlier in that airship.
Yes,
He
that's
drops like a
Oh, they attack a village in Japan.
Yeah.
Which is like an ancient village. It's like
Japan's got like all ancient villages.
Why is Japan like the 1600s?
Yeah, because they do speak Japanese, don't they?
Yeah. Well, why? And meanwhile, this school is in the future. What is going on?
Well, it's because they haven't done the... Yeah, exactly. What is going on? They haven't done the work. They haven't set the scene. We don't know what this world is.
No.
If they just said it...
And this is
now,
after the
and
school.
that village was in, I don't know.
This is after going to the future school scenes.
Yeah.
Suddenly we get this village that's attacked, and Piccolo's henchman retrieves one of the Dragon Balls. Mm-hmm. And then Piccolo himself, as James Marsters, shows up.
He's doing his best. He's doing his best with the material.
He is.
He seemed to have cared about the film, as I said.
Yes. By the way, he is a voice in Dragon Ball Super as well.
That's right. I've written it down, if you can wait a
I
second.
think it's Zamasu.
It is Zamasu.
Okay. So Grandpa's attack...
I also got written down here, the suits... He had to fight to make Piccolo ugly.
Oh, okay.
The execs wanted him to be handsome. Mm-hmm. Maybe even not in makeup.
Oh my god.
Possibly.
Wow. Okay.
And James Marsters had to put his foot down. It's like, you need to make him look
Demon
like...
King Piccolo.
You need to make him look like this.
Yeah.
This kind of like ugly, withered guy with these ridges and stuff.
Yeah.
4 hours in the makeup to
Yeah.
get that done. Although he said the first time they did it, it took 17.
Whoa!
Yeah, that would have been a long day. Well, I guess they were figuring stuff out.
But there's other makeup studios in Hollywood. They've been doing this for years. They know how to put makeup on an actor in 4 hours.
Well, they had no plan, right? Because Masters has to say, no, you can't. He can't be handsome. Maybe they were just going to put some green paint on his face, and he was going to be like,
whoa,
like like the character he is in Buffy, the vampire.
Right.
So still handsome, and he's like, no, you need to figure something out, even if it takes 17 hours. Yeah. And that's how long it took.
I don't think the makeup looks that bad.
No, it looks
honestly.
good.
I think it looks fine.
It's about the best thing. He's about the best thing in this film, frankly.
Yeah, he does a good job. I think this film, what shocked me, because this movie, I looked at it and I was like, this CGI, it looks like Spy Kids.
Yep.
It looks like Spy Kids level. And I was like, okay, I wonder what year this is.
Spy Kids.
It's 2009.
Yeah.
And that's Iron Man. Iron Man came out around that time.
2 years earlier, actually.
So if we're expecting Iron Man level CGI, or somewhere thereabouts,
yes. Well,
where Spy Kids is like...
Well,
coming
CGI
down
is still, it's a question of money. It doesn't matter, the year doesn't matter, the money matters.
Here's we're coming down to the crux of the matter. No one is passionate about this film, with the possible exception of James Marsters. No one cares. It's just a way to get a payday.
Yep.
They've spent as little as possible. It's shot in Mexico.
Was this in production before Iron Man came out? Because I have a feeling that it must have already been in production, because if this was made after Iron Man, and we had this notion of fidelity to the source material is what attracts huge audiences, it would have been a very different movie.
The people with the final say, don't know about Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
To us, Dragon Ball is a big deal.
Yeah.
But I suppose, look, in the wider world, I think maybe Dragon Ball has a big fan base, but it doesn't necessarily overlap with
mainstream media.
With the mainstream movie-going audience, say.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can rely on the Dragon Ball Z fans to get excited about this film and go see it. And in fact, poking around doing my research, I found like old websites that fans had set up at the time that this film was coming about, tracking every media release, like dbzmovie.com, now of course defunct, but using Wayback Machine, I was able to go back and kind of like look, and like people gave a shit about this movie, but that represents a small segment of the population. And unfortunately, the people that were making this movie did not belong to that segment. They didn't know what Dragon Ball Z was. They didn't care what Dragon Ball Z was. They were just trying to get this movie out cheap. They were absolutely not the kind of brains that were behind Marvel Stage 1. This was just, let's just get this out there and make some money.
Yeah.
Although they did want sequels. They were hoping it would be a franchise.
Yeah, they do set up. There's a sequel.
post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Oh yeah, so that does kind of indicate that they've seen Iron Man. To have a post-credit scene, a mid-credit scene.
That's true. That's true. So maybe but it's just so half-assed.
Okay.
And they don't care.
So
they're not putting in the work. Like Marvel really, I mean, like the MCU is a joke now, but in 2007 they were putting in, but post Iron Man they were putting in the work.
Yeah.
They released 5 movies before Avengers Assemble, or that first Avengers movie came out. Like people were putting in the hard yards to lay the groundwork for this phenomenon. It didn't just happen. But with this film, no.
So Grandpa is attacked and killed for his Dragon Ball.
Yes.
By Piccolo.
Yes.
The house is destroyed.
No, just the front. Just the facade. Piccolo crushes the front of the house.
Yes, but we
psychic
don't
powers.
see that. This is what I'm saying is it looks like the house is destroyed.
Yeah.
In that shot.
But then in the next scene,
That's what I'm getting. This is what I'm getting to. This is what I'm getting to. The house is utterly. It looks like it's been flattened.
Also, Piccolo. Well, this is like a Chronicle style superpower, right? You remember Chronicle?
Yeah.
he force chokes him. Piccolo force chokes.
He does.
He holds his hand out.
He does,
And like
you're right.
squeezes his heart
Oh my
or
god.
something.
Oh my god. Yep, I'm adding that to the list of shit ripped off.
Yep.
Force choke.
So then we cut back to the party, and Goku's looking up at the moon, and he sees this kind of burst, like flare burst.
He's
out of
having
the
like
moon.
he had like a premonition or something.
Well, it's happened while, and he says, these are the exact words out of his mouth, something's wrong with my grandpa.
And then he
down
leaves.
too. I wrote that down.
He looks at the moon, he sees the moon kind of blast, and he's like, his response is, something's wrong with my grandpa.
Amazing. Yeah. Check it out, Ashton.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with
I'm
my
going to read it word for word. Something's wrong with my grandpa.
So I think at this stage, he goes back. I think maybe Grandpa, does he have a dying breath? Like, does he warn
Yes, he
him about
does.
it? He warns him
And,
about the Dragon Balls.
He quotes a poem.
Yeah, he says, we need to stop the Dragon Balls before the eclipse or there will be an apocalypse. Now,
He says Piccolo has returned.
yes, Piccolo's return. You need to get the Dragon Balls before the eclipse or there will be an apocalypse. Now, here is my question. You assemble the 7 Dragon Balls. You can make a wish.
Yes.
Piccolo can get the 7 Dragon Balls and wish to rule the Earth. What does the eclipse have to do with it? Because, in fact, they used the Dragon Balls at the end and it didn't have anything to do with the eclipse.
Yeah.
So, also, Piccolo conquered the world 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
He didn't have the Dragon Balls.
No.
Why does he need them now? He
Right.
doesn't have
Good
the
question.
motivation of eternal youth as he did in the comic. Why
right.
leave out that one line of dialogue?
That's right. And
One line could have fixed that.
Also, he seems confused about what exactly he wants with the Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
Because at one point, I mean, we're talking about him destroying the world, but also later on, just jumping ahead a bit, he says he wants to rule the world with the Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
So does he want to destroy the world, or does he want to rule the world?
Yes.
Because he.
But why? Yes.
This script is...
And why does the eclipse matter? They've added
Yes,
it.
this is-
The thing is, this is more exact. You can see it, or you can see it. It's like in the screenwriting handbook. You
Yeah.
need to add a countdown timer.
Yes,
There needs to be a
that's right.
time limit. They have to do it before the eclipse.
Yes.
But actually, that does. It's not relevant to the plot. It could have been any time.
It's amazingly... So the eclipse... So there's a full moon the night of...
Of the party.
There's a full moon the night of the party. And then the deadline is the eclipse and the blood moon, which is going to be 2 weeks later.
Okay.
Okay,
Which
so
is another full moon.
which is another full moon. So there's only 2
right.
weeks later is another full moon. Also, okay, so the thing is, okay, someone thought this sounds cool. A solar eclipse and a blood moon at the same time. Those things cannot happen at the same time. In fact, they are the absolute opposites in terms of orbit.
Yeah.
A solar eclipse is when the moon obscures the sun. A lunar eclipse, also known as a blood moon, is when the Earth obscures the sun from the moon. When it's on the opposite side of the Earth, they're on. It's as far away from a solar eclipse as the moon can possibly be when there's a lunar eclipse. It's like, did anyone check this?
They just were upset. They didn't need the countdown timer at all. Leave all this stuff out. If this guy's trying to get the 7 Dragon Balls, you
Yeah,
gotta get
why-
them before him. That's enough. That is enough. In terms of a screenplay, that is enough. You
Yeah.
don't need to have this.
I guess
No,
the thinking was the Dragon Balls have to be used on the eclipse, and Piccolo's like gonna wish to end the world.
Well, I suppose what happens is, and once again, I hate doing this. The solar eclipse is when Uzaru appears.
Oh.
And throughout the film, they
And
keep...
Ozaru is the one that's going to destroy the world.
Well,
is the threat
it's
to the
baffling
world.
because the introductory speech that you mentioned, the lame intro, mentioned like Piccolo was very definitely the baddie. But then about halfway through the film, or a third of the way in, suddenly in dialogue, everyone starts talking about Uzaru.
Yeah.
Like Uzaru is the threat.
We haven't seen Uzaru.
Yeah. And I've
Like,
written
I heard him
down.
mention-
Goku
He's
says
mentioned-
at the end, he's like, I'm gonna defeat Ozaru. You haven't even seen Ozaru. You don't know who Ozaru is.
And I've written down who is in charge here. Like, who is the baddie? Is it Uzaru or is it Piccolo? I thought Uzaru was Piccolo's assistant. But now everyone's talking about Uzaru as being the bad. And we know why, because there's the a really lame reveal at the end that, spoilers,
So boring compared to the comic. That's so boring.
Goku himself is Ozaru.
Yeah, he's the were
Reincarnated.
monkey. Ozaru means big ape, big monkey.
Nice.
So that's, what he, in the end of the second volume of the comic, he turns into that big were monkey, and we learn that he's the one that actually killed his own grandpa, and he didn't realize it.
So, even though a solar eclipse is, solar eclipse and blood moon, opposite things, it's close enough to, this is what will release Ozaru.
Yeah, okay.
So, that's why we've been, as you said, someone said timeline, and the scriptwriter's like, well, I guess we have to we'll make it, and as you say, it doesn't make sense. It's gone off the rails, because Piccolo's supposed to be the threat, but then we need a countdown, but Piccolo's not related to the countdown, because he just wants the Dragon Balls, so then we have to start talking about this guy Ozaru, who we haven't mentioned much. Now he's the big threat, even though we don't know who he is, or why he's important.
Yeah.
It's just a mess.
Yeah. So, Goku buries his grandfather in the backyard of his own house. This is taking place in the future or the present? He goes to a modern school?
Hold on. I want to talk about the house first.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. He goes into the house, which was flattened in the previous scene.
The house was flattened, and it's just the front of the house. He goes into his bedroom, and all his stuff's gone, and then half the floor is gone. It's like the front half of his house has been gone. Piccolo has had the good graces to only destroy half of the house.
Yeah.
He goes in, and he's got, it's supposed to be poignant, where it's like, oh yeah, my grandpa baked me this birthday cake and made me this whole feast for my 18th birthday.
It's like Piccolo was kind enough to leave the birthday cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
So yeah, he buries his grandpa. I don't know why he's doing this himself in his own yard when he lives in a modern world.
Yeah.
Where they have funerals.
Well, you can't. That's illegal.
He doesn't live in the
You can't just
country.
bury your people in the yard.
Crazy. Then he goes into the house and he uncovers Grandpa's gi in a scene very reminiscent of the green crystal scene from Superman 1/78.
That's
where
true.
He opens the green crystal in the barn. It's like he opens up.
He
gets the
opens it and it's the
glow.
orange robes.
Yeah, it's
Oh my god! I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. But then suddenly Bulma shows up in the
Bulma briefs.
Bulma briefs.
Well, that is her. Okay, so
Yes.
when she said her name was Bulma Briefs, I was like, oh, that's the first clever thing that's happened to me. And then I looked it up. Her name is Bulma Brief in the Japanese comic.
Yeah.
So they didn't come up with
No,
this.
they didn't.
It was there.
They've just everyone's got the same names.
Yeah.
There's no originality.
Yeah.
This film is the opposite of original.
Yeah. So
She doesn't.
I disagree. I think it's incredibly original from what the comic is. I think it's unbelievably different.
You're getting ahead of yourself. We'll wait till we
So
get to
she shows up. She's got these like future guns, and she's like, "Give me back my! You stole my Dragon Ball. I'm here to get
She
it."
calls it a Protherium orb.
Protherium orb. Sorry, she's got my. You got my Prothean orb. It was
Promethean orb?
stolen.
Oh, Prometheum orb. Yeah.
Prometheum orb. It was
hell's
stolen
Prothean?
from me. I have this detector. I detected it coming from here. So
I
you must
invented
have
this
it.
detector.
Yeah.
I have a PhD in
applied dynamics and tactical weaponry.
applied
A minor in
dynamics.
tech. Okay.
A minor tactical. And I thought.
So this is just a load of gibber. Okay, please.
So this is another line where I was like, is this supposed to be a joke that I'm supposed to be laughing at? Because when she comes in, she's blasting these lasers, and I'm like, why is she like this? And then she says that, we had a flashback to her father's company being, the Capsule Corporation being attacked, and the Dragon Ball being stolen from it, and she's in there blasting with it. So she's like the security at her dad's company? I was like, what is this? Who is this person? Why is she special ops? And then she gives this line about having a PhD in applied dynamics and a minor in tactical weaponry.
What is applied dynamics?
It's okay. It's related.
It's bullshit, is what I'm hearing.
It is bullshit, mate. And it's what it is. It's a part of mechanical engineering. So dynamics is when forces act on. So it's like Newton's third. It's like she said. I've got a PhD in Newton's third law with a minor in shooting stuff. It's basically what she said.
So I'm interested to know how Newton's third law allows her to make a Prometheum orb detector.
Applied dynamics is just kind of like a minor element of mechanical engineering, essentially. But the point is, as you pointed out, it's just gibberish, meant to sound smart.
But is it supposed to sound funny? Is the contrast of weaponry to applied dynamics supposed to be like a joke?
No, I don't think that was a joke. I think it was exposition for why she's allowed to have these gadgets.
Why she has both guns and gadgets. You're right, Ashwin.
But here's the crazy thing. Her thing is she's trying to get unlimited. She's about to make a breakthrough in unlimited energy using the Dragon Dragon Ball. Now, when she arrived at the house, she thought there was only one Dragon Ball. When she sees Goku, she's like, there's another one with 4 stars in it instead of with 5 or whatever it was?
Yes.
And she's shocked by this. And then they get to talking, and she talks about her PhD, and she says, I'm on the verge of a breakthrough of unlimited energy. I need to get all the Dragon Balls.
Yeah, she already starts calling them Dragon Balls. I noticed that too.
And she
called it a Prometheum orb at the start.
she thought there was only one in existence, and now she wants to get them all.
Such sloppy writing.
How? It doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. It's
She's
sloppy.
like, oh, there's others? I need all of them to complete my unlimited energy source.
That's it. She just found out there was more than one.
She should have said, I need mine back to get I was on the verge of a breakthrough with the one I had.
Yes. And she starts calling them, with the flip of a switch, as soon as Goku says they're called Dragon Balls, she starts calling them Dragon Balls. She only says the word Prometheum Orb once, I think.
Yeah.
Why would she stop referring to it as Prometheum Orb and start calling it Dragon Balls? Because that's what's in the script.
Yeah.
It's the sloppiest writing.
Yep.
Do you know that this script went through, according to Wikipedia, this script went through 5 drafts?
I believe it. I have a theory that the first one was closer to the comics, and they got further and further away. I have a hunch.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Okay, you're correct. The first draft is online.
Okay.
I didn't read it. I ran out of time. But I can put it on the Facebook page so people can find out. But apparently that first draft is much closer to the comics.
Okay.
But then you start getting the input.
The cigar chompers come in.
That's correct. And then it goes through multiple drafts. And apparently the final draft, James Wong himself may have written.
Oh!
Uncredited.
Interesting.
So Ben Ramsey wrote the first draft, I've got it in my notes here, and then at least 4 more after receiving quote-unquote studio notes.
Studio notes.
And then, allegedly, again according to Wikipedia, Wong doctored or wrote from scratch, maybe, the final draft uncredited.
Right. Well, it doesn't read like any of his X-Files writing, that's for sure.
No, it's too many cooks.
Yeah. So, we actually get a capsule. This is the first of the 3 movies where we actually have a Hoi Poi capsule.
Yeah.
They don't call it that.
Two had Hoi Poi capsules, but the effect was
that's right, just a blast. And
well, that's more like the comic, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you said.
Oh, that's true. That is true. You're right. That version was better.
Here, as you pointed out, we're ripping off yet another property. It's
Yeah.
Transformers, isn't it?
I saw that bike transform, and I was like, instantly, I was like, this is that first transformation in Transformers 1. And in Transformers 1, I will give it credit. I know, Dad, I know you hate those movies. But the Transformers in Transformers 1, the transformations look pretty cool.
Yeah, no, there's moments in that first one.
That first scene, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's like the helicopter lands. It's like this military helicopter that's supposedly gone missing. Then they're all staring at it, and it's a suspenseful moment. And then all of a sudden, it starts transforming, and it's really slow, and it's longer than any other transformation in the series. But it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So before Grandpa died, he told Goku to find Master Roshi.
Yes.
So they go to this weird-looking house in the middle of town or something.
And they're in the big city, and this looks like a New York.
Yeah, they use that sci-fi like display to find where he's living.
It's like something you have in a shopping center, like in a mall.
Yeah. And it's Chow Yun-fat.
It is Chow Yun-fat.
I fell out of my chair.
I couldn't believe it. I did a double take. I Googled it.
Yeah.
Just in case
Is it Chow Yun-fat? It is Chow Yun-fat.
I could not believe it.
By the way, this is not... Also, he's going to be on the podcast again at some stage.
Oh.
They have a big fight because they go in his house. They don't know that he's Roshi. There was a line in here that really bugged me. What was it? He says... Oh, yeah. After they stop fighting, Roshi mentions, "Oh, I know that's the crane attack. I know that from Gohan."
Yeah.
And he says, "You knew my grandpa? Wait a second. Grandpa told you to come here and meet this guy. Why are you surprised that he knew your grandpa?"
You're right.
Okay, he's walking around in Hawaiian shirts. He's got a shirt with like an anime girl and a bikini on it.
Yeah.
They go through his stuff. He's got this Bikini Quarterly magazine. There are little touches here that are like, remember what that comic used to be like? Like, it feels like first draft, stuff in the first draft.
Yeah, you're right.
Where he was like probably a real pervert in the first draft, like closer to the comic, and then slowly got the execs are like, you can't have a perverted character in this movie.
It's a shame I didn't have time to read that first draft.
I really hated that because in the comic it didn't age well. I'll say that for the comic, those bits. They are funny in the comic though.
Yes.
In this, they're so few and far between that it's just kind of uncomfortable.
It's there's three moments. There's the T-shirt that he's wearing, which isn't mentioned. There's the Bikini Quarterly, which Bulma's like, Bikini Quarterly.
It's a collector's edition.
And there's a moment where he's got his hand on her hip when he's riding behind her on the bike, and she says,
"Get your hand off
that hip or whatever." That's it, and it's never mentioned again. That's his character trait. By the way, every time Goku touches one of these Dragon Balls, he has visions.
Yeah, mystic visions.
Mystic visions, which reminded me of...
What did it remind you of?
What was another movie where somebody touches the thing and they have flashes of visions? I feel like it's...
That's the orb in Lord of the Rings.
The Palantir, yeah.
Oh.
But there must be others. I think this is a common trope, right?
Yeah.
You touch the thing, psychometry,
even
you touch the thing and you get flashes. Yeah, you're right. It is like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It's like in two ways, because you put the ring on, Sauron knows where you are. And then there's also that orb that Saruman has.
Palantir.
Yeah, like Palantir. Yeah, Pippin touches it. Yeah. And then has a vision or something.
Oh man, those films are so much better than this film.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. And yet we don't get what's going on. It's not... So again, this is something that's been shoehorned in because it's foreshadowing the Uzaru reveal.
Yes, yeah.
But because no groundwork's being laid, it just feels...
I zoned out whenever he had these visions. Yeah. It was like flashes of images. I was just like...
I will tell you, the first time I watched this movie, it was like midnight, and I was on call with some friends. I was watching this. We were losing our minds at these visions. Because we saw Ozaru, and we thought it was the dragon. And we thought that was what the dragon was going to look like. And we were losing it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So... now we have a team of three. It's Goku, Bulma, and Master Roshi. They get on the bike and they travel out to... there's no Cloud, of course. They're going looking for the next Dragon Ball. Chi-Chi, meanwhile, they go to some sort of secret location, which is actually not secret. There's all these fighters they're training, and Chi-Chi is there. And it turns out she's a secret fighter. Her family doesn't know about it, which is very opposite from being Gyuma's daughter, the Ox King's daughter.
But it's very cliche, kind of American. I'm a nerd too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. we have a connection. We're both outsiders, and we're both into martial arts.
What did she say? No one at home knows this, but I'm a fighter too.
Yeah.
They wouldn't understand.
No one at home knows. They're very far from the city at this stage where she's training. What do they think she's doing? Where do they think she is?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so they fall into a pit while they're in their travels, and it turns out to be a pit that's been laid, a trap that's been laid by Yamcha.
Oh, I hate Yamcha.
This guy...
movie. So much.
There's really too much of this guy, June Park, who was our Speed Racer guy, in this movie. Probably were the right amount of him in Speed Racer as the Yakuza driver. In this, he just... I was like, okay, you've done your business. Please leave the movie now. We don't need you in it.
So unlikable.
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't really... He speaks good English, but he's some kind of K-pop South Korean guy.
Yeah.
So, casting him in this...
Ashton figured out that he's from California.
Yeah.
That's why he sounds like a surfer.
That is his actual voice.
That is his actual surfer accent.
He went to high school and university in California.
Well done.
Yeah.
And then he went and had a career in K-pop in South Korea.
Yeah. Must be bilingual.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And they've, whoever, Cigar Chomper A, it's like, wow, we got this guy who can speak English and he's going to bring in the South Korean nerds.
Yeah, that's why Chow Yun-fat's in here. Absolutely. It's like, well, we got to have an Asian representation of some sort. At this point, in 2009, it was like, well, we got to have one in there. There's like a nod.
I hate how representative this film is, because it's a terrible film.
Yeah.
But it has so many Asian actors in it. A very, for a given value of diversity, since it's East Asia specifically, but it's very diverse for a Hollywood film. But, as you say, it shoots itself in the foot by making Goku...
The other thing I would say is Gohan was the doctor in John Wick 1.
Yes, he was. And he was also the key master in The Matrix. The Matrix 2.
Okay. So
yeah, pretty much the entire supporting cast, with the exception of Bulma, are people of Asian extraction.
Yeah.
Which is kind of remarkable.
Yeah.
Really. And it's a shame that it was this movie.
Yeah, it really is. It was like Joy Luck Club, then Dragon Ball, then Crazy Rich Asians, and then everything all at once. Oh, Shortcomings. So we got 5. Okay, so actually one of the Dragon Balls is in this pit that they've fallen into.
And the machine just randomly starts detecting it when the scene needs to move on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again,
I did like
sloppy writing.
There's one moment where like Piccolo drains a lake or something and then picks up the Dragon Ball out of there.
And he says it was easy to find without all that water.
Actually, this was a bit like the comic where they just find one lying in a field.
It was like,
or there's a moment in the comic where they say they've had 4 and we haven't seen them collect those 4. They just got them off screen, you know.
Yeah.
It's like not that important, I guess.
No.
Now we see the Piccolo's breeding machine scene. So instead of vomiting up eggs which hatch...
This was like Blade.
Yes, it was like
This was like Blade.
So add that to the list. I'm going to come back to this list that I'm talking about. This was like Blade.
Yeah.
This was like, was it the,
the
Blade 2?
No, I think Blade 1.
No, Blade 1 as well, yeah, because he does get in a bleeding machine in Blade 1. We have done Blade 1 on the podcast.
I listened to that episode.
Amazing.
So he breeds a bunch of monsters this way. It's like in the first draft you can see he makes monsters, and here it's like been diluted and diluted until this thing.
Someone said we can't have him throwing up an egg because that's goofy.
He's got black blood for whatever reason because he's a demon king, and he sits in this chair and he's like, "Rah!" And then it's like it takes out his blood. And then it puts it into these big, giant test tubes. I don't know, like they look like the God, I don't know. It's just like a big person-sized
big
test tube.
birthing chambers.
And the things are just these generic mooks.
Yeah,
they're not like the personality of the strange.
No, they are like the orcs from Lord of the Rings.
They're like orcs,
and that makes it worse because they show up at a volcano.
They show up at a volcano, and then they're like laying in the
Mount Doom.
volcano. It's a bit like the T2 melting, I guess,
but they don't melt.
The
and then Goku walks on them because I guess convection isn't a thing.
Yeah, he creates a lot. He creates a bridge out of the corpses of these things.
You can't be near lava. It doesn't matter if there's a body on top of the lava. You can't be near it.
Yes,
you will burn up.
Yeah.
But,
Yep. Okay. So then they go to...
No, hold on. We missed the whole bit.
Okay.
We missed the whole bit. They're in the hole. How do they get out of the hole? Gohan... No, not Gohan. Turtle Master.
Master Roshi.
Yeah, Master Roshi is like...
He jumps out.
After being in there all night, Master Roshi just decides, for whatever reason, he's like, okay, I'm going to jump out. So he jumps out of the hole. He does this giant jump. And he's like, give us that digging tool, and we'll make you a lot of money. And he's like, okay, cool.
We just need this scene to end and move on to the next scene.
So then they get the Dragon Ball from out of there. Then they move on. And
so Master Roshi could have got out at any time. And also, we've already established in an earlier scene when Master Roshi and Goku fight that Goku also can levitate. Because he levitates in that scene.
Yeah.
Goku could have levitated out of the hole. And in fact,
it seems like he was trying and just couldn't get high enough. I actually had this problem too in the movie. I was like, we were talking about this, like, can't he fly? But then we do get shots of him trying to jump and he just can't jump. He can jump super high, but not high enough to get out of that deep pit.
I'm disappointed in you, Kumar.
There's one other thing about this that I want to talk about before we get to the volcano. Is they've stopped calling it ki, and it's like, use your ki to master this airbending technique.
Yes.
It's called airbending.
They say airbending over and over again.
I couldn't believe my ears.
Yep.
A year later, Last Airbender comes out.
Well, the cartoon's already been on TV for several years at this stage.
Yeah, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, 2010.
Yeah.
But this is very definitely a reference to the cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
People, yes. Again, this is so this is just such a melange.
This is like
not the good kind.
Again, it's like I feel like it's an executive that doesn't know his kids are watching cartoons. This guy doesn't know the cigar chomper doesn't know the difference between Dragon Ball and Avatar.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, these shows are on TV. They talk about airbending. First draft of the script comes in. He's like, why is there no talk about airbending in here? Put it in. My kids love that airbending stuff. Okay, and the writer goes back and he writes in some lines about airbending.
Yeah, I believe it. I think that's what happened, yeah.
Okay, so they go to this tournament. I don't remember why they specifically went there. Chi-Chi's fighting in. They meet Yoshi wants to meet this master there named Sifu Norris, played by Ernie Hudson from The Crow.
Yes, and also from Ghostbusters. But yes, he was in The Crow. He was the cop in The Crow. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Why is Ernie Hudson in this movie? What's with this cast?
I don't know. By the way, have you seen all the pictures, this very current online? They've been showing some pictures of him because he's promoting the new Ghostbusters movie.
He looks good.
He's 74 and he looks 48.
Yeah, he looks good. He's barely aged.
Yeah. Very shocking. Anyway, so there's this big tournament. Chi-Chi, after her fight, she's cut in the fight by her opponent, which is actually Piccolo's henchwoman, Mai. Cuts her and steals some blood, sneakily, hee.
Yeah.
Chi-Chi just like walks off, and Goku's just like, "Hey, Goku!" And they share another repetitive moment. Meanwhile, Bulma and Yamcha are having a bit of a romance forming there.
I hate Yamcha so much.
Yeah.
He's so I don't know how they made him that unlikable.
Yeah. Now we get a Goku training scene where he has to light these torches, these lamps.
Oh my god.
With his ki energy, with his Kamehameha, which he never says. They call it that, but he never says it. He has to use his ki, and this is a very long sequence, and an 85-minute movie about the end of the world. Chi-Chi shows up. He's having trouble. He has to light these 5 lamps or something. He has to light all the lamps.
There's 6 torches in the room.
Yeah. Chi-Chi comes in. She's like, "Hey, you need some inspiration. So for every lamp you light with your ki energy, you can take 1 step towards me."
He can't do it. He can't do it. He's trying. And then Chi-Chi shows up, and you're like, "Yeah, you can take 1 step towards me every time you light one."
Now
he's like, "Okay, cool." And he just does it.
He just does
one, does the next one, and then he can't do it all of a sudden.
He was horny. He suddenly was like, "Oh, okay, I can do it now."
I guess
Lights one, lights
such a
one.
cliche
He's
again,
channeled in your dick, I guess.
So he lights a few, and then he's struggling with the third one.
Yeah.
And she says, "You have to make every move your own." He lit 2 or 3 already.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why are you giving advice about how to do it? He has done it.
Yeah. Also, you're right. And what's that line? You have to make every move your own. That means that doesn't mean anything.
He must have done it
It means
already
zero.
because he did it.
It has
does,
zero
it's right.
meaning.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Also, Chow Yun-fat pronounces Kamehameha as Kamehameha.
Yes.
And it really is weird.
I was alright. I didn't mind that Kamehameha.
No, to me it was a bit odd.
Okay.
I suppose because I watched a lot of the dubbed
Right. Okay.
anime
Okay.
where they call it Kamehameha.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
wonder
right.
how it's pronounced in Hawaiian.
Okay.
But incidentally, the Kamehameha does everything.
Yeah.
Lights fires, brings you back from the dead, heals wounds.
Yes, that's right. There's all that stuff in
Defeats enemies.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just a magic. It's like magic.
It's like an X-Men anomalous energy power.
Yes. Yes, random energy power. So, Chi-Chi that night, so he gets close enough, he makes the 5 steps, he kisses her. Yeah, they have a passionate kiss.
Yep.
This movie is really anti-Dragon Ball. It's so opposite of the comic that Goku would want to kiss some girl.
Yep.
Like, this is what he's keen on. He doesn't even know what a girl is in the comic.
Yep.
This is wild to me that it's like that we've got this romance subplot in here.
Yeah.
The world is about to end. You've only got 85 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But someone has said again. The suit has said. We need a teen romance.
Yeah.
Because that's
what the teens go to the cinema for.
That's what a film needs. Where's the romance subplot?
Okay, so that night, she's still there, and they're like, "Oh, she must have stayed with Goku." And then as she leaves, we realize that she's stolen the Dragon Balls.
Dun, dun,
now,
dun.
at this moment, I was like, "Oh, something interesting happened in this movie."
No, you're
because
wrong.
the romantic
Nothing
interest
interesting happens in
because
this
the
movie,
whole
Kumar.
time I was like, "Why is she so interested in him?" I could not understand it, and finally it clicked. She was a traitor that was trying to steal the Dragon Balls from her.
Oh,
that turns out to be not true.
You sweet summer child.
It was Mai who had stolen her blood, so she was able to duplicate her to look just like her.
Is she supposed to be Oolong?
No, she's
In any way?
She's one of Pilaf's.
Anyway.
No, Pilaf had 2 henchmen, Sho and Mai.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've just transferred Mai over to Piccolo, and there's no Sho. So that joke also, the Shumai joke, is also not in here.
Yeah. Alright, okay, also back to this. Alright, Mai steals her blood in the tournament to steal the Dragon Balls later on. How does Mai know that Chi-Chi even knows Goku and Ko?
Yeah.
She's just some random person she's fighting in the tournament. How does she know to steal her blood?
Because she read the script.
Yeah, because she read the script. They're wearing the same outfit.
Yes.
How could Mai possibly have known what clothes Chi-Chi was going to be wearing?
She goes back to her normal clothes when she transforms. So somehow...
No, she's wearing the same outfit. She changes back to Mai and she's wearing Chi-Chi's clothes still.
Yeah.
So she had to get the same outfit that she could not possibly have seen Chi-Chi wearing.
Holy cow.
Lucky she read the script, Ashton?
Okay. Oh yeah, and by the way, while Chi-Chi and her double are fighting, they ended up in a martial arts fight.
Yep.
There's a big fire in the hallway they can't get through. But in the previous scene, one scene previous, Goku used his Kamehameha to put out the lamps.
Yeah. The previous scene.
He could put out
It's
this
one
fire.
of Kamehameha's established abilities is to both light and extinguish fires.
Fires. Yeah. And he does not use it in this next scene.
Oh my god.
The very next scene. Oh, he jumps through it instead.
Yeah.
He jumps
He
through
dives
it. He has
through
a
the fire.
dramatic dive through it.
Yeah.
They end up in a flying car. So So Piccolo's going to this temple where he needs to perform the ritual with the 7 dragons. He now has all 7. He needs to recite a prayer. Keep that in mind. There's a special prayer he needs to say to get the wish to come true.
Yep.
So they go to this ancient temple. It's really all bad, very cheap CGI. All these backgrounds, everything's all green screen.
Looks like Spy Kids.
Our good guys are showing up in a flying car. I guess that must have been a capsule that we didn't see.
Yeah,
It just
I
appeared
don't
out of
even remember
nowhere.
how that happened. Yeah.
Anyway, they show up. Now we get the big fight. Goku turns into Ozaru. It's revealed that he is Ozaru, and he turns into the big
It's really vague.
were monkey.
Okay, again, it's really stupid. Piccolo was only recently escaped.
Yeah.
But Goku came to Earth 18 years ago
Yeah.
as his herald,
Yeah.
who is going to change on his 18th birthday once Piccolo escapes. Why would Goku arrive 18 years before Piccolo escapes, only for his
Yeah.
18th birthday to coincide with when Piccolo escapes from the thing?
Yeah.
I guess it was in the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, why would Grandpa Gohan raise him?
Yeah.
You know, in the manga, he doesn't know that he's a...
No, because he gets killed by him.
He loses his
No,
memory.
in the manga he does know. He just tells Goku, he's like, oh, Goku, you can never look at the moon.
Right.
And then Goku does it.
But he doesn't know he's a Saiyan. He doesn't know he's been sent to Earth to destroy
No,
it.
Saiyans aren't a thing until Dragon Ball Z.
Well, exactly. But here, Grandpa Gohan knows exactly who Goku is and raises him anyway.
Here's my question, Jordan. Did you write down Michael Jackson's Thriller when he turns into Ozaru and he's got his like high school jacket, or it's actually his gi? He's still wearing it on top, and it really looks like that first scene from Thriller.
I didn't, but I wish I had now.
Yeah, you should have written that down. So, and in his
Also,
Ozaru,
he's not much of an Ozaru because he's only about 7 foot, 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
He grows about a foot.
Wait, sorry, there's a scene I want to talk about earlier. Goku gets knocked out. He gets shot with a laser gun, with a ray gun.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier, when he's fighting Mai.
Good thing he wasn't shot with a real gun.
Yeah.
Just a laser gun that stuns you.
Yeah, and knocks him out, and he's dead to a degree.
Oh, then he that's right, Master Roshi revives him with
Master
the
Roshi
Kamehameha.
revives him with a Kamehameha.
That's right,
you're right.
You're right.
But there's a scene where Goku's like dead, and he's like, he sees his grandpa, and he's this blue area. He's like in the afterlife, and he's like, Grandpa, is that you? And then his face falls, and he's like, are you here for me? Like, he's just realized, he's like, oh, I'm dead?
Yeah.
And then Grandpa's like, it's not your time yet.
Why is this in the movie?
Why?
yeah.
As you said, we've got 85 minutes... we've got 85 minutes to tell a story about the apocalypse, and we've got this scene in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Classic.
Why couldn't they have done like CPR or something? Why did it have to be a Kamehameha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ozaru,
Just give him the kiss
Goku as Ozaru kills Roshi, actually chokes him to death.
Yeah.
Then he manages just through willpower, because he says the line, he says like rules were meant to be broken or something.
Oh my god, this is the most cliche thing in the whole movie. It's the first line in the movie is, the first rule is there are no rules.
The first rule is there are no
What does that mean? How does that affect anything?
The rule is that he has to turn into a were monkey on the full moon, but he's broken that rule. He's just by choice, he's going to turn back into himself.
Is it? It's the solar eclipse combined with the blood moon.
Whatever, but by choice, he's not going to be.
Cannot happen.
He's not going to follow that rule. He's going to turn back into his normal self. That is the rule that he has chosen.
You know, Grandpa Gohan told him when he died that you need to be true to yourself, or
I would say this is actually it's a scene that bothered me in Avengers as well. At the very end, when the Hulk says, "You want to know how I control my anger? I'm angry all the time," or something like that, and he just turns into the Hulk.
Fucking line so much.
And he just turns into the Hulk by choice.
Yep.
And it was similar to that. Oh, he can just choose to not be this monkey creature that causes the apocalypse. Okay, whatever. Then he finally does the Kamehameha and actually says it out loud.
I want to talk about the monkey more, because in the comic, it's like there's a bit of a build-up to it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, he's had this monkey tail this whole time. And then he starts talking about, oh yeah, my grandpa told me never look at the moon. And there's like a couple of pages build up to it.
Yeah.
And it's only there for a little bit. So it's okay that it's just a couple of pages. And they cut off his tail, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But in this, it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, you are Ozaru. And it's like, dun dun dun.
Dun, dun. And that's why he's been having visions, and that's why we've been talking about Ozaru, even though Ozaru is but Piccolo's supposed to be the antagonist.
Yeah.
But about halfway through the film, everyone starts talking about facing Ozaru. It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So
ham.
he does the big Kamehameha, really huge one, blasts Piccolo out of the sky. Piccolo falls to the ground. He's intact. They don't check if he's alive or dead, I guess. And they
dead.
I guess they just leave his body there. They don't put
For the post-credit scene to happen, they must.
By the way, they did get the Mafuba, the vase again, but it was wrecked by Piccolo.
Yep.
So now they got to use the Shenlong Dragon wish to bring Roshi back to life.
Yes.
They don't say the prayer.
No. Exactly.
What does he say exactly? He's like, Dragon,
please bring back my Master Roshi or something.
We get a hard cut. They're on the ground down in the valley or whatever. Then we get a hard cut, and they're up in that tower with all 7 Dragon Balls. And Goku was already talking to the dragon. He didn't know. Hasn't said the prayer. He couldn't possibly have learned the prayer.
Yeah. And the solar eclipse
is such a mess.
Passed, so that isn't relevant at all.
Well, that was Ozaru.
Yeah.
But whatever. It never mattered.
Yeah.
It never mattered.
Yeah.
It was shoehorned in.
So they bring...
Shenlong doesn't look like Shenlong. He doesn't look like a proper Eastern dragon. He looks like Smog or something.
Right.
Again, what's this crazy... what's this dragon? Dragon's gotta look like fucking Smog from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me tell you how to make movies, kid.
Yeah. So then they kind of like agree.
It's about the money, Spider-Man.
Roshi comes back to life, and then they agree they're going to search for the Dragon Balls again.
In a year.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
And it's like, okay. And then we get roll credits. I have to say, there's an Ayumi Hamasaki song playing over the credits. I kind of like that. That was maybe the first moment I liked in the movie. And the credit is based upon the graphic novel series Dragon Ball by Akira Toriyama. That's the credit we get in it.
Yeah, pretty good. I think it mentions Shonen Jump as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Original manga published by Shonen Jump.
Published by Shonen
So
Jump.
both of those pretty okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't redeem the film, but it's nice to see that.
No. Okay, so that is that. Now I guess it's trivia time.
Post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene. Sorry, mid-credit
Tell us
scene.
about it, Ashwin.
So it looks like we're back in another Japanese village or something in the middle of nowhere. Not futuristic, just a countryside village. And this lady, we get this really long, really boring shot.
Very long.
So long.
She's
so
just sort of
long.
ladling soup.
Yeah, she's like a ladle. We get it's like 30 seconds of her just ladling soup. Like this could have been made interesting. Like you can make slow stuff interesting. They didn't do that. She's just ladling soup. She's walking around, and she walks over, and it's like she's feeding something in the bed, soup, and we don't see what it is for like a minute.
What could it be?
Because it's so slow. I wonder what it is.
Is it Ozaru?
The camera moves over slowly, and it's Piccolo is there, and so he's alive. They didn't get rid of the body or anything.
Yeah, they didn't check if he was dead.
He wasn't dead, and now he's just being.
They just left it there.
My guess is what happened is they saw this was well into production. They saw Iron Man and were like, "Oh, we need a post-credit scene."
Yeah,
and they want sequels.
Yeah.
They're definitely hoping for a franchise here, an old-fashioned franchise, not a cinematic universe.
If
but
you
an
want a
old-fashioned
franchise, you have to put in the work.
Well, we know that now, but they wanted an old-fashioned one. Sequel,
Yeah, right.
couple of sequels. Yeah. Not the sort of thing we now associate with cinematic universes. They were still making yesterday's movies. My God, were they making yesterday's movies?
Yeah.
All right, trivia time, baby.
They put about every yesterday's movie in that one.
Well, let's talk about it briefly. How many films were referenced? I've written a few down. We have Force jokes
Yep.
with Piccolo's Star Wars. We have the Superman gi reveal, well observed. This is like every teen movie.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club, not another teen movie.
Yeah.
Just watch not another teen movie. Transformers with the capsules. We have airbending mentioned.
Yeah.
We have Piccolo's weird blood draining machine, which is kind of like Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even read online.
Thriller.
Yeah, Thriller. Well done. Yeah. There's people are just saying, just put this in. Remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah, just shove it in. It has. As you said, Ashwin, this is like a Farrago. This is just a mess where it has almost nothing to do with Toriyama's work and is more just a crappy melange of stuff from the last 10, 15, 20 years in film. Terrible. Even Twilight, arguably,
Yeah, Ultraviolet, the movie with What's her name?
Kate Beckinsale, she in that?
No, it's
Oh, no, I know the one you mean. We did mention it in the Blade episode.
yeah.
It's got, is it Christian Bale? Is he in it?
No. That's
another one I'm
that's
thinking of.
Equilibrium.
It's all the same shit. But, you know, like, speaking of Twilight, you know, we've got, what have we got? I mean, we've got the high school setting,
Yeah.
a teen romance.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Put that in there.
Of course.
Put that in the list.
And this film is competing, when it's released, with Fast and Furious, the fourth, I believe.
Yes.
Fast and Furious is the fourth one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, and of course it gets completely destroyed because this film, as we said, cost about 30 million, despite its public budget of 100 to 120 million, with which they enticed Hollywood superstar James Marsters down to Mexico. It ended up only costing 30 million. Box office take, 56 million. Sounds alright, but it only made $9.4 million in the US. So a domestic take of $9.4 million.
Yeah, right.
That's a flop.
Yeah.
Serious flop. Did Chow Yun-fat make another Hollywood film after this? He did not.
Really? This is the last one.
Yeah. After this, it's just
Interesting.
Hong
He didn't
Kong.
want to come back, I guess.
I mean, he had a crack at a Hollywood career there, but this is his last film.
But there were some fair stinkers in there.
I think this one was the nail in the coffin, as it were.
Okay.
June Park, Yamcha, injured his back. Again, probably doing his own stunts because they were cheap. Took him 2 years, apparently, to get back into fighting shape.
Wow, I wonder what stunt that was. Okay.
Yeah, so as I said, Fox acquired the rights in 2002. They approached a few different people to direct, including Stephen Chow, but also Robert Rodriguez.
Whoa.
Spy
speaking
Kids.
of
Spy Kids!
Well,
Yes.
Battle Angel
Well done.
Alita.
Yeah, and
Later
Sin City,
on, yeah.
of course.
Yeah, okay.
Also, Mark A.Z. Dippy, who did Spawn in the 90s.
Oh, goodness, okay.
And even Zack Snyder.
Oh!
All of whom passed. All of whom comic book movie makers.
Yes.
All of whom passed.
But Stephen Chow is the best choice of those. All those guys.
Yeah, he ruled it out.
Stephen Chow
He
was
said
great.
he wasn't really interested in directing something he hadn't written himself.
Yeah.
And it was probably, I don't know, would he have made the difference? Would he have had the clout?
It would have had visual... Yeah, oh, I see what you mean, yeah. The
That's
suits would
the
have still
trouble, because this
overridden
one,
all his decisions.
you're making this film, you're fighting a lot of inertia, a lot of drag from the Hollywood machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, they've settled on James Wong. It was filmed in Mexico mostly from late 2007 to early 2008. A lot of it in an abandoned jeans factory.
Is that why they had the green screen?
Yeah. Yeah, in this jeans
It's in
factory.
every shot.
Yeah. Yeah. The cast, as I meant, just a little point here. They wanted Ron Perlman for Piccolo,
Okay.
but he turned it down to do Hellboy 2.
Oh, okay.
So that's how they ended up with James Marsters, who signed on, as I mentioned, because he was a big fan. Bitterly disappointed at how it turned out, as we've already established. And he had signed up for at least 3 movies. In this panel at Wizard World, he said, "It came out, I wanted it to be a hit, because frankly, we get 3 pictures out of it if it's a hit, and I'd signed up for 3. I get another chance to do it again, and then we get to do the Dragon Ball Z material, which is what he really cared about.
Yeah.
And my character is going to transform into the Piccolo that we all know." So the
good guy.
the heroic one from
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. Because I was doing King Piccolo, I wanted to pump out and be Piccolo and surprise everybody. And now he tells a kind of funny story about opening night,
Okay.
which opening night in the US, I don't think there was a proper one.
No
So
premiere,
No premiere, yeah. So he just goes to see it on the opening day. Quote, "So this is the funny ending to it. My son was all excited about the movie, and so we go into the Cineplex, and he leads us into the theatre. His kid leads him in, and I'm like, please man, full house. Opening night." And we walk in there, and it's packed. It smells like body odour, beautiful. And it's hard to get 3 seats together. My daughter, my son, and I. But we get 3 seats together, and I'm so excited. But something in my brain goes off. Like, this is too good to be true. And I lean over to the teenager next to me, and I say, "Is this Dragon Ball?" And he goes, "What?" And I say, "Is this Dragon Ball?" And he goes, "What? No, this is Fast and Furious, man." So we get up. And we go across the hall to Dragon Ball. My son was so excited, he led us into the wrong theatre. And I'm thinking, please man, just 50 people. And we walk in there, and including us 3, there were 5 people in the audience.
Wow.
But before you feel too sorry for James Marsters, in 2008 he said, "Dragon Ball is the coolest television cartoon in the last 50,000 years. Its only failing is that the female characters aren't drawn well. We're going to fix that in the movie."
Don't think they did.
This movie did not fix anything.
No.
In fact, people have apologized for this movie, officially.
Okay.
So, first of all, the script writer, Ben Ramsey, despite what I said about James Wong having kind of like the final say, he has kind of taken full responsibility. It might even be worth reading this out in its entirety.
Okay.
This is what he said in 2016. I knew it would eventually come down to this day. Dragon Ball Evolution marked a very painful creative point in my life. To have something with my name on it as the writer to be so globally reviled is gut-wrenching. To receive hate mail from all over the world is heartbreaking. I spent so many years trying to deflect the blame, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the written word on page, and I take full responsibility. I dropped the Dragon Ball. I went into the project chasing after a big payday, not as a fan of the franchise, but as a businessman taking on an assignment. I have learned that when you go into a creative endeavour without passion, you come out with suboptimal results, and sometimes flat out garbage. As a fanboy of other series, I know what it's like to have something you love and anticipate to be so disappointing.
But didn't he retract that apology later on?
I've never heard that, really. Even if he did retract it, there's so much in here about chasing money and not caring about... and making...
Oh yeah. This whole movie's hostile towards Dragon Ball, the comic. Absolutely hostile. Like, hates it.
Yeah.
Doesn't care about it.
Yeah, it doesn't care about it. No one who had say gave a shit. Yeah. And Ben Ramsey himself has said, me too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just some of the words here, you know, payday.
Yeah.
Businessman.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So evocative of the issues here. Justin Chatwin as well, just last month on Instagram, after Akira Toriyama passed away. Rest in peace, brother. And sorry we messed up that adaptation so bad.
I saw that, yeah. Yeah.
Another thing that I want to talk about this movie is that I use Letterboxd quite a lot, and the reason I've seen it before is because it has an average rating of 0.91, I think.
Out of what?
Out of 5.
Out of 5.
0.91.
And people are giving... You can give half stars on this. People are giving an average of 0.9, which is the only movie to have below 1 average
most
rating.
people are voting
and
0 for this, right?
Yeah, most people are giving it half a star.
Oh,
which is the lowest you can give. And it is the lowest rated movie on Letterboxd.
That's amazing. And just about every movie's on Letterboxd, is it?
Every single
And
movie.
this is the
Including
lowest-
TV movies.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and this is
direct-to-video.
the lowest rated movie
This is
of
of all time. And I'm pretty sure Avatar The Last Airbender is third.
Third lowest?
Yeah.
Nice. Votes.
Oh, we're voting.
Oh, yeah, that's all my trivia.
Okay. Okay, so volumes 3 and 12. I think we have a clear yay from Ashwin
yay.
on those.
It's great.
Me also, yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yay for me. It's still going strong, but as I said, it's a bit of a dip for me from 1.
Sure.
Okay.
The film. There's no doubt here.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I loved most of it. I've watched a lot of bad movies, and I will say I did not enjoy every second of this one like I do with something like Troll 2 or Birdemic or The Room. I watched those and I'm losing it the whole time. This one, there were a lot of really just awful parts. And then so yeah, it's a nay, but absolutely worth a watch.
Okay.
I think my thing about this movie, which I felt after watching, was if you know the comic, it's really bad. Like, holy cow! Yeah. I love this.
Or
comic.
even the anime. I mean,
yeah, or the anime, and you watch this thing, you're like, what have they done? Why did they do this? But even if you're not familiar with the comic, if you've never heard of it, and you watch this, it's just one cliche after the next. Yeah. Plot hole after plot hole, bad CG, banal dialogue, throughout. Doesn't make any sense. The whole thing is garbage. It's deluxe garbage if you've read the comics. So, but I can't even recommend it as like a funny. It's not like a Veronica level. You won't believe your eyes watching this thing. It's just really cynical, mercenary, cigar-chomping filmmaking, I think.
It doesn't have the sincerity of the good bad
That's
movies.
right. The good bad movies are by people who think they're making a good movie.
That's what makes...
They believe what they're making. They're like, this is going to be awesome. Samurai Cop, the guy's like, you can see it. The guy's like, this is going to be awesome. When this guy shoots this guy or chops off his arm, it's going to be wicked. And then you look at it on screen, it's like the most hilarious thing you've ever seen.
Really well put, Ashwin. And I think that's what makes this film different from the previous two we've looked at as well.
Yes.
Because those people thought they were... Like, those movies suck.
Yeah.
But those people thought... They obviously cared about Dragon Ball.
And I also learned that with the Korean one, like Korea, apparently Japanese media was forbidden.
Yes.
So they had to make their own. And they're like, well, we got to make this thing because they loved this thing that they were getting as like black market, I don't know, or like contraband.
Yeah. This film, that film, the Korean film, when it came out, it was one of the first. The embargo had only very recently been lifted.
Okay, right.
So as you said, people had been consuming it secret or unofficially.
Yeah.
Then the embargo's lifted, and they made this unofficial kind of like remake because of the passion for it. Yeah. It's passion.
Yeah.
There's no passion here.
That's right.
Remember,
that's what makes
like
it so hard
Ramsey's
to
stuff,
watch.
you know, and that's what I think, as Ashwin said, that's what makes it less funny.
Yeah.
Because
it's more executive decisions rather than the director making bad choices on set.
So I want to talk about this.
Passionless people.
There's 4 ways a movie can go for it to be
as many as
good
that.
and bad. No, so if you have a so bad it's good movie, something like The Room or Samurai Cop or Troll 2 or Birdemic or Mac and Me, it's they thought they were making a good movie, look how wrong they were. Then there's the spoof, right? Which is, we are going to try and make a bad movie. We are going to make something good and dress it up like it's bad.
Okay.
That's something like Kung Pao.
Right.
Or Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Okay.
Then there's the one that I personally hate, which is we are going to try and make a bad movie and copy bad movies, which is Sharknado. Okay. And then there's a movie like this, which is just bad.
Yeah.
No one thought it was going to be good, and it wasn't good.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. The people that made it didn't respect the source material, and they didn't respect the audience.
Yeah.
It's like those people writing Superman comics in the 60s or whatever.
Yeah.
These dumb kids, these rubes, will just go see anything with a bit of kung fu, a monkey man in a suit,
bit of airbending,
and Jamie Chung in a low-cut top.
Yeah.
You know, these dumb people won't know any... Yeah, airbending. These dumbasses, we just got to get bums on seats and then we can rip them off with a few more movies.
Yeah.
And it didn't work, and it serves them right.
Yeah.
And I think that covers adaptation too.
Yeah, I think adaptation is a big... This was a huge... I would say this is probably one of the worst since Sweet Gwendoline.
I fucking loved that movie.
I know. You thought that was a good adaptation.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
I was like, there's only one name. Two people have the same name, and they have nothing to do. And I feel like this is really aggressively one of the worst adaptations of the source material. Has no idea of the tone of the original at all. Even if he changed every name, that's like what I meant by Shaolin Soccer or Kung Fu Hustle being closer to the tone of Dragon Ball.
That's right. It hasn't elevated the material with this adaptation. It's not a creative endeavour. It's like Ashwin said. Instead of being inspired by the material, they've taken the most ephemeral tissue surface layer of it and then shoved in a bunch of shit from other films.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious. Yeah. Avatar, Transformers, whatever. Just shove it all in.
Yeah.
It's an anti-adaptation.
Yeah.
It's adapting other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Terrible. All right, and we might, maybe to finish up, I found an interview with Toriyama himself.
Okay.
In translation, it appeared in the Asahi Shimbun newspaper in 2013. It was specifically about the film coming out at the time, Dragon Ball Battle of Gods.
Okay.
Which, so the scuttlebutt goes, Toriyama made specifically because of his horror at what occurred with this movie, on which he was a producer.
Executive producer.
Which
is an honorary credit.
Right.
Often.
He said, at the time of the Hollywood movie, the live-action Dragon Ball, the script had too little of a grasp on the world and its characteristics. And, on top of that, it had conventional content that I couldn't find interesting. So I cautioned them and suggested changes. But in spite of that, they seemed to have a strange confidence and didn't really listen to me. What came out in the end was a movie I couldn't really call Dragon Ball that lived up to my expectations.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, that being the case, and he's talking about Battle of Gods here, there are parts where I wanted to show some spine with a world and story only the creator could draw.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so please like, rate, review, subscribe on whatever your platform is. Please join our Patreon for only pennies a day. Helps us with the hosting fees and the books and DVDs, etc. when we need them.
And the 2 Mountain Goat beers that John
Yes.
That's just 2 that I drank by myself.
Yeah.
Come on, I had 1.
Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're not on Twitter. We're not on TikTok. We're not on Instagram.
No. We are... Yeah, we're
not on
MySpace.
MySpace.
Sort of like It's sort of like on the cusp of Generation X here. We don't understand anything so far.
Yeah. Was that all of it?
Next week?
Yes. Okay, next week. So we're going to shift in an interesting way. We're going to do City Hunter.
Yeah.
We're going to do the Jackie Chan version, which was from the 90s. We're going to have a triple, City Hunter triple, as we did with Dragon Ball. Because there's a Netflix release coming exactly 3 weeks from now.
And there's a French...
The French one will be in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we'll do the brand new Netflix one, which isn't even out.
So we hope you've enjoyed 3 manga adaptations in a row, because we're going to do 3 more.
Yes.